And I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone while we get going. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the info call with Chad Hyatt for the MyComida Rupestre. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into a presentation that I put together for this, and then we will get to questions and sort of talk about what the event is all about. So, Kim and I are the Fungivore. This is our seventh year and sixth season in Oaxaca, Mexico. Whoop, he's coming in. One more coming in. This is our sixth season out of 7 years in Mexico. We missed 2020 for obvious reasons, and it's just been such a pleasure to do this. That's not the way. My name is Zachary, and this is Kim, and we are the Mushroom Hunters. So my background, similar to Chad's, is actually as a chef. I began working actually in a Mexican restaurant washing dishes when I was 15 years old, and sort of have never worked in any other job except for in Santa Cruz. I was the administrator of Bowman College of Natural Cooking for a short time. But basically, I got into mushrooms pretty quickly. And as many of you who know are into mushrooms, as soon as you even poke up that you're into mushrooms, all of your friends are like, what's this mushroom? What's that thing? What's this thing? And I quickly became the mushroom chef in my group. And when I moved to Santa Cruz in 2012, I found the Soma Mushroom Camp in the Santa Cruz Club. And it was like, that was the end of that. And now it's been 13 years sort of decoding the flavors of mushrooms, exploring the medicinal mushrooms or the medicinal properties of culinary mushrooms, and just really like examining what is there that I can put in my mouth and enjoy. And this is Kim.
I'm Kim, and I started mushroom hunting when I met Zach. I'm quite good at it, and I really enjoy it. And got into mushroom dyeing. Been studying with Alyssa Allen for the last 4 years. And for me, like being in these communities, like mushrooms have really been a form of like creating a web of connection with all of these different folks that also share in a love of mushrooms. So for me, I love sharing the love of mushrooms with people.
Yeah. So if you're here, it's because you wanted to learn more about MyComida Rupestre. We are really excited. This is our third year running this adventure in basically the same way. And I'm not sure if I have can you guys see my pointer? Maybe not. You can? Oh, great. So this is Chad. Chad is on the call with us. Right above him is our good friend Iñaki. This will be his third year with us on this trip as well. This is Reina over here. She's the local Hungara for one of the towns that we will spend our primary time in. And this really, when we ran this trip, it was our first time doing all 6 nights in the mountains. And after that, we changed every tour to be like that. It was like, well, this is it. We're going to be in the mountains the whole time. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And just being with the people up there and having that time to be in the air and the forest is just such a lovely adventure. So Chad is with us now. I'm going to have him say hi real quick, and then we'll get back to him later. And Chad and I have orbited one another for probably as long as I've been in Santa Cruz and Soma, so 13 some years now. And this is really our first time working together, and I think we've sort of been working towards this. So I'm really excited to have him, and his wife Rosa will be joining us as well on the trip. So really, really stoked to expand the folks. So this.
Let them say hi.
Oh yeah, do you want to say hi, Chad? You got to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Like Zach said, we've kind of been like circling near each other for years and years, and we've talked about doing stuff together for I probably since the first time we met, but we finally got around to it now, and I am so damn excited to be part of this. This is yeah, it's hard to contain my excitement with where this one's
Wonderful.
going.
That's awesome. We'll talk to Chad a little bit more. I'm going to do a quick brief intro on sort of Mexico and why Oaxaca and what that's all about. And then we'll talk more about the trip itself. So for us, it all began actually. Alan Rock, also at Soma Camp, Alan Rockefeller used to present every Monday about his summertime mushroom adventures. And one January, I was like, "Hey, Alan, if I arranged a group and I just paid for you to come and be our mycologist, would you join us?" And he said yes, and I said let's do this, and it sold out. And we actually had one person from like each section of the U.S. It was really cool. And it was amazing. And it was like, well, I guess that's what we're doing. And Kim and I had just met actually like months before when I was speaking to Alan. So she jumped on board, and we've been going since then. So a brief overview of Mexico for those who aren't familiar with it. As I'm sure you know, Mexico is our southern neighbor in the North American continent. And what makes Mexico really unique is that unlike the United States with its plains and vast sort of eastern seaboard, Mexico is kind of the continuation of the Rockies and not much else. And the irony is that Americans sort of view Mexico as the beach, but Mexico is mainly mountains. And the internal part of Mexico, the continental Mexico, is where really all the action happens. Mexico is a mega diverse country. It shares that status with Brazil and Colombia. It has everything from semi-arid jungle to pure jungle, all the way up to alpine slopes. I don't know if you're familiar with Orizaba, but it's actually the third largest peak in North America at 18,500 feet. And that is also in Mexico. And so Mexico kind of has every single altitude and level of wet and dryness that there is. Mexico itself is the United States of Mexico. It is 31 states plus Mexico City. And these are in varying sizes, but operate very similar to the way that the United States, each of the states in the United States operates as well. So every state sort of has its own unique thing that it is, and often has a language group from the indigenous people that were here when the Spanish arrived. So there are, I think, over 600 indigenous languages still spoken today in Mexico, or languages and dialects. This is sort of the dominant language for each of the states. And if you look all the way down there at the bottom, you'll see the Zapotec purple. That is the state of Oaxaca. And Oaxaca is dominated both recognition and in sort of the history and the archaeology by the Zapotec people. So this is the state of Oaxaca. Oaxaca does also have coasts and beaches, and it's funny how many times people are like, "Oh, I'm coming to Oaxaca. I'll be at the beach." And I'm like, "That's okay. You should probably come inland though and see what's really going on." But Oaxaca also has some really tall mountains, and I think on our trip we will have the opportunity to get up to, I think I measured it at 10,700 feet. It is the highest point that we'll get to, and it is forested. It is a fir forest, and it is full of mushrooms. It is coming from Oregon, where tree line is like 4,500 feet. It's mind blowing to be up that high, 3,400 meters. And still have forest and still have mushrooms. So that's really exciting. We're going to see quite a bit of the high part of the mountains of Oaxaca. As you can see, all of those white pits are above 10,000 feet. So Oaxaca City is in the central valleys, or the Valles Centrales. It used to be a gigantic inland lake. And we'll learn a little bit more about the history of the swamp and the history of the people here, which is really old. We were actually getting a chance on the way down from the mountains to go visit the Mitla Caves. Those pictures are from there, and the Mitla Caves have 12,000-year-old cave paintings and evidence of the very first pumpkins that were ever cultivated, as well as some of the early evidence of teosinte becoming corn. So we're actually going to go and visit these caves as part of our tour, because we really want to provide this context for who the Zapotec are, what Oaxaca is, and what this state really represents, not just in what the modern world, but how long it's been there. And this is, for all intents and purposes, as much a cradle of civilization as Greece or Mesopotamia or Egypt or any of these places, or China, or any of these places that have been really celebrated. Oaxaca is right there with them. Oaxaca now has 8 regions, and these regions are distinct in that they often have their own language groups, but they also have their own dances, their own music, their own food. And for those who are coming to Rupestre, the week before this is Galaguetza celebration in Oaxaca. Think of Carnival, but celebrating all of these regions of Oaxaca, all descending on Oaxaca and having parades and food and vending and
various festivals.
I mean, it's awesome. So if you're thinking about coming early, this is definitely the trip to come early. But if you are, you should book your hotels soon. So the Valles Centrales and Sierra Norte in the middle here, this is where we'll be spending our time during this trip. Both of those are Zapotec regions, but as you can see, there's about 16 languages. We actually, one language group was lost during COVID as the last native speaker of that did die during the pandemic. So there are 16 groups now in Oaxaca, but you will note that the Zapotecs of the valley cannot necessarily understand the Zapotecs in the mountains. So what they used to consider dialects, they're starting to say are different Zapotec languages. It is extremely diverse here. And the Zapotecs were busy. From about 1500 BC or so, San Magote was formed, and it was the Zapotecs are known for having the very first writing system in Mesoamerica. They had a huge empire. What you see on the lower left, or sorry, on the lower right is Monte Alban, which was considered the center. It was around for 1300 years continuously. And these other ruins are also just in the Valles Centrales. So the Zapotecs go all the way out to the coast, up into the mountains. The more LiDAR they use, the more stuff they're finding, similar to the Mayans. And a lot of this, and the Mixtecs as well, as just now being uncovered. It's really quite amazing. So with that, as a great segue to introduce you to one of our major players on this trip. This is Celestino, a really good friend of ours. He was actually here only a few hours ago at our house to discuss our various trips. We've been working with him since 2021. He is an orchid nerd, absolutely loves the natural world, and is from the Sierra Nortes. He'll be with us the whole time. He's one of our guides, and he arranges the trekking and really takes care of all of the things in the background. And he is Zapotec himself. We'll have Iñaki with us as well. Iñaki is a Guadalajara mycologist. He's also a ceremonialist. So if anyone does have questions, we don't do psychedelic stuff on our trips. Iñaki is your guy to ask if you want to learn all about what Mexico and psychedelics have, because he is very knowledgeable on that. He also dances buto and makes music and is an all-around amazing human to be around. And perhaps maybe the most important, well, not second most important, is our baby donkey, who is probably not going to be a baby anymore, although there may be new babies. But I just had to put her in there because
Все же нормально.
she played such a role last year in just the love for what we were experiencing. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, is Chad. Chad said hello earlier, and so I'm going to go ahead and click over to his book and give him an opportunity to kind of talk about himself and his experience with mushrooms. And, I think this is the second version of your book now.
Yeah, so I guess first I could just give a quick introduction. I think everybody in the room right now probably knows me, but for anybody watching this who doesn't know me, uh, I am a chef. I've been a chef in the Bay Area for a long time now, more than 15 years. I worked in a bunch of restaurants and private clubs and all that sort of thing. And the last few years, I've been working freelance. I kind of got over the restaurant life. It's not a very fun way to live. And it's given me a lot more time to do the mushroom thing. But I, I got into mushrooms about the same time I started cooking for a living. And I've been pretty much from day one was pretty much obsessed and was any of you who are mushroom hunters know you wind up with way too many mushrooms all the time and trying to figure out what to do with them all.
You give it away
And that kind of led me to writing this book. Uh, like Zach said, the first time around, I actually self-published this book in 2018, and without going into too much detail, recently I was contacted by a publisher called The Experiment that was interested in me kind of updating the book and doing things. And so I've been working with them on this, what is now going to be a very heavily revised edition to this book. It's going to look like a different book. You'll see a lot of crossover. A lot of the recipes are the same, but there's like almost a quarter of the recipes have been swapped out for new stuff, and a lot of the stuff that stayed has been revised, and the production value is much better and all that kind of stuff. So the book will be out in July. It should be published. We just actually did our, we just did, actually, I'm supposed to the published date that I just heard a few days ago is supposed to be like a couple days before we leave for this trip.
Amazing.
So I might have first copies with me when I come on this trip that I can bring for you,
Oh, I
Zach.
guess please do.
And but yeah, so I'm an obsessed mushroom person. Over the last, I would say pretty much since about 2016 or so, I've been doing mushroom events all over the place where just kind of talking to people, teaching people, both just kind of identification and taking people on walks and also just how to cook with mushrooms. And I've gotten to do stuff in Alaska and Washington and Oregon and California and Arizona and Colorado and Wisconsin and all of like more states that I'm not remembering right now. But I've gotten to do a lot of stuff, and I love just kind of exploring. I've gotten to pick mushrooms in probably 25 or so states and in a few different countries, and this is going to be my very first time doing so in Mexico, which is extremely exciting for me. So I'm as excited to share all this stuff with you guys as I am to learn myself.
Awesome. Well, so that's a great segue. Thanks for that. Yeah, I want to, without getting into too much detail, because the element of surprise is pretty awesome. I will give a little overview of why I just think this is such an amazing event. So with all of our events, because the Oaxaca airport is actually fairly close to Oaxaca Central, we start and end staying in a hotel in Oaxaca City. And as I said, it will be Galaguetza. So if you are thinking about coming early, just because we actually will spend just 2 nights in Oaxaca City. Most of our time will be in the mountains with the indigenous folks. Oaxaca City is definitely worth checking out. If you are crowd pro and really want to see everything that's going on, coming early is going to be amazing. If you would like a little less crowds, if you stay after, there should be, oh my goodness, that doesn't have the right dates on it. Oh no.
It's okay. You'll follow up.
Okay.
Well,
Anyway, ignore those dates. That is last year's dates. We're looking at July 31st through August 8th. And 2025.
you can't win them all,
You
honey.
can't win them all. Um, so July 31st through August 8th is the trip. And if you want to come early, the Galaguetza happens the final week of July, and it's a celebration of all things Oaxaca.
And just for a logistical note, anyone who's already signed up, I'll send an email to you with the hotels that we've got booked on the in and out. So if you want to see about staying there additional days on the front or end, we've already got those booked and I can share those with you. I will be sharing them with you.
So one of the things that makes this trip so special is because we really have an opportunity to provide the context for the Zapotec people, being able to visit some of the ruins, being able to see the caves, but also being out in what is currently, as sustainable agriculture as you can get. It works with the rains. This is where the corn, beans, and squash, like the three sisters you hear about, and we'll get a chance to experience some of those milpas when we're out there. The village that we stay in primarily is a bread baking village, and so we may have some opportunity to see them actually fire up their mud ovens with wheat that they have grown themselves, threshed with donkeys, grind themselves, and turn into cookies and various other things that they sell around in the mountains as well. Huh? Oh, yeah. Well,
I think it's on the website.
it's on the website, yeah. So we kind of culminate this in they have killed a sheep for us every year and made barbacoa. And it's an all-night process, and everyone has an opportunity to participate in that, and it's really awesome. And last year we put like 5 pounds of porcinis in with it and made ongokoa, and everybody like.
So there's the assignment this year, y'all.
This is the assignment. Yeah. Yeah, we really dive into the food aspect of what they're doing in the Sierra Nortes, and do our best also on the way in and the way out. We go to some of the really nice restaurants in Oaxaca that kind of do a showcase of what modern chefs are doing as well. And so for me, this is, we walk between villages, we get to really experience the farm life. We are seeing some of the prehistoric caves, seeing ruins. And, we always bring a little mezcal with us as well for folks to try. And for anyone who wants to take some home, our friend Octavio will package that for everyone to be able to travel with. I love this trip, and it kicks off our season. And so we have the most energy as well at it. But it's just such a blast. And so at this point, I will open it up for questions. Actually, I got one more thing to show you. This is Tay. Tay is actually coming on the trip again. Tay came last year and just had such a good time that she's already signed up to come again.
We were like, don't you want to go on a different one? She's like, no, I really like
No,
that
I really
one.
like that one.
We love you, Tay, when you see this.
Dulcie, I don't know, and some of the others. This is Peter. Peter was actually at Soma this year, staying with us, and just had a blast as well last year. And we just like to feature some of our past attendees. We really feel like the experience is life-changing because what you're exposed to is something you've never really been taught in the US. And so it's really phenomenal to step into where it's normal. Instantly you're normalized in the world that we're in, and it just really has a profound effect. So how to join? If you haven't applied already, you're going to want to do that at thefungivore.com. Any of the pages have a link to our form, but if you want to read more about the event, including the day-to-day itinerary, that's on there. Once we review your application, if you said you want to have a call, we'll give you a follow-up call and we can talk about whatever you like. And then you just submit your payment to secure your spot. That needs to come with a caveat. We only have 2 spots left on this trip. So, that happened quickly, and we're really stoked about that. And so if you do want to come, make sure you get your application in, and first come, first serve. We will be in touch with you ASAP on that. We have a really great lineup of people coming. Several alumni who have come on previous trips before are coming back. So yeah, I can't stress enough to come along. Does anyone have any questions for our trip?
Or for Chad,
or for Chad, or
us,
for me, or you can unmute yourself if you're asking a question.
Oh, Mary, you'd asked about baggage. You asked about rolly bag versus backpack. And actually for this trip, we get our luggage taken to each site at the cabins that we're at. So when we depart in the mornings, we just leave our luggage in one of the rooms and it gets loaded and taken to our next spot. So either will work, a rolly bag or a backpack.
Yeah, I think a rolly, either one, but yeah, rolly's easier
throw
to
'em
carousel.
Yeah.
They'll throw them around. Whatever you feel to move your bag, probably.
And there's like no trekking to a
Maximum
cabin. Like,
Okay, I didn't know if we were walking from one site to another with our luggage.
no.
Not this region. Okay.
Not this trip.
Awesome.
Really not any trip.
They hear me? Drive. Hey,
Katie.
can I ask if you can accommodate vegetarian?
We can accommodate vegetarian. Yeah, vegan gets a little harder, but vegetarian we can definitely do.
Yeah, not vegan, just vegetarian. Okay, great. Thank you.
I've got Lisa in the car with me, so
Great. Well, a lot of the villages are primarily like vegetarian based with there is protein, but like when vegetarian diets are actually really well.
Yeah, Carousel is a wheat growing village, and a lot of the stuff they make are like little patties and things that are actually just naturally vegetarian. And during the wet season, when all the stuff is growing, Mexico is known for eating what's called quelites. And quelites are something like over 300 different species of wild plants that grow in the milpa during the rainy season. And this is everything from lamb's quarter to quinoa to amaranth to persimmon, to the tips of the squash. All of that they kind of branch under quelites. And so you often have a big bowl of greens on your table. You'll have your beans. You have like your tortillas, soups. So the rainy season in Mexico is nothing like the Mexican cuisine that you've experienced.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
I have a random, or sorry, go ahead.
I have two requests. One is how soon do you need to go early to catch the holiday? You said the last week of July, but
Yeah.
what is that?
Well, I mean, the holiday is kind of it's a month long, and then the last 10 days, it's basically a Monday through a Monday is sort of the official events. And during that time, there is like the Mezcal Festival happens for the entire length of the time. The Alebrije Festival happens at another place for the entire length of the time. Plus, there are fairs and all kinds of things happening. If you were able to come as early as the weekend before, I think there's a mushroom festival happening that weekend. But you know, other than that, you can kind of come and be there, and there'll be stuff happening. You know, the big event is sort of these big dances, but it's almost impossible to get into those with Ticketmaster involved. So
It's just a very lively time.
it's a very
If you come-
lively
if you
time.
come early, it will be a very lively time.
Yeah, and you'll just
Okay.
wanna look into booking something soon because it will fill up in the city.
Yeah, well, I booked up to the starting the 28th right now. I was debating
Okay.
whether or not to book earlier or not. So
Well, on the internet, it says Galagetza 2025 is from the 21st through the 28th of July. So if you were,
Okay.
so if you did get a few days early, you might catch like the final parade. But in
oh,
general,
okay.
it'll yeah, it says it runs through the 28th, but there's still sort of things happening on both sides of that too. So
Okay.
Let's
And
make-
my second question is,
email.
I want to, since I'm coming in early, I want to try some of these restaurants.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I would want to know which ones you're taking me to, so I won't rebook them.
that's
So-
good. We get that a lot.
Yeah, we'll actually have our reservations set
Pretty
soon.
Yeah.
And so
Okay,
we'll have
send me the list, right?
Yeah, and actually, this is a good time to just share once folks sign up, and we're in the process of updating it because we're a little early, but we do launch an information page that's for our participants, which has sort of drop downs with like pretty much anything you could think of, transportation from the airport, ATMs, like
Travel insurance.
like where we're staying on which days, where we're eating on what days
Yeah,
for
how to-
each trip.
yeah, every single.
So we do provide a website, and we're also available on email. So I'll always be available to email, but we will provide a pretty
Yeah.
in-depth site for folks to.
Yeah.
get in.
It's my concern is if I'm heading into a holiday month week, it's it's going to be important to get those reservations. in early,
Absolutely. Yeah,
get those spots.
Good thinking.
that is accurate.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think we can do 6 month early on Airbnb or on Open Table, but we're getting close.
so Kitty, I'll add that we were Zach and Kim and I were talking about this before everybody else joined the call, and I'm also probably going to try and get there a couple days early, but I realistically, based on other commitments, for me, it'll probably be a couple days early, not early enough to get deep into that festival. So
Uh-huh.
we can talk about, and we're going to want to do all the same things. You know, I'm going there to eat and drink. So, you know, we can talk about sharing some of that stuff for sure if we're there early.
Yeah,
I
Omar
got to
Okay.
talk to Rosa about it still, but
Omar and
we
Stacy
can
are coming
connect
for a
and
whole
figure
week.
some of that stuff out as we get closer.
And I
Yeah,
was
because the area I have is really small. But you and I, Chad, we'll talk about this. But
Well, and also we typically start a WhatsApp group for the group about 2 weeks before the trip starts. So anyone's coming early can share when they're coming. If folks want to get together for dinner or get in on reservations, like
that'd be great.
might be coming early too. So I would just say we'll have a WhatsApp group too to help people
Yeah,
coordinate.
so everyone can intercoordinate and work with each other, and
Cool.
yeah,
So I have a random question actually.
great.
So obviously there's all these native languages, especially variations of Zapotec that are spoken there. Is everybody there a Spanish speaker, but it's kind of primarily their day-to-day language in the village is more of this indigenous language, or in the villages they really only speak the indigenous languages, or
I think that deals with proximity to the city. Celestino was just telling us about one of the new areas that he's exploring, pretty like, it's like 6 hours out to their village. And he said that very few people out there spoke Spanish and they needed to hire a translator. Where we're going, I think everybody in the close in Sierra Nortes, for the most part, speaks Spanish. In Teotitlan and in Coahuila and some of the others, you will hear Zapotec as the primary language for folks when they're communicating with one another. But everybody for the most part speaks Spanish. I don't think we've ever had to have a translator.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah,
I mean I'm used to that in parts of Spain I'm in a lot,
Mhm.
where Spanish might not be the default language of a lot of the locals, but they all speak Spanish, and I'm kind of I mean my Spanish is far from perfect, but I can function in Spanish, but obviously
Like,
I'm
the second language for many of them too.
Yeah.
okay, perfect. So we
Yeah.
can stumble through it together. That's great.
Yeah.
And my wife's a native speaker, so she'll be fine. She can help us if we need Spanish help.
But
Right.
like we will when we're in the mountains, like when people are talking to each other, it's really fascinating to hear because you're hearing Zapotec, not Spanish being
Mhm.
communicated to each
Mhm.
other, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, if no one has any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And like I said, I'll have this up on the website and on our YouTube channel probably by tomorrow. So you can look for it there. And anyone that was attended the call or meant to attend the call or jumped in earlier or had to leave earlier or came in late, we're going to send you a copy and a link for that video as well. So I just want to thank everyone for being here. And if you have any questions that come up after we've hung up or departed, go ahead and you can shoot us an email. My WhatsApp and text number are on all of the emails as well if you want to find it there. And I look forward to hearing from the last two of you who are coming.
Are you doing it, Lisa? Texting my husband.
All right. Okay, guys.
My habit.
All right. Well,
All right.
someone's at our door, so it's time for us to go.
All right. See ya.